Hello everyone, today's lesson is about factoring polynomials with common monomial factor. I have 5 examples here for you. So let me explain to you how to answer this kind of problem. The first one is 12x squared plus 4. There are two things we need to find here. The first one is what we call the GCF, or the greatest common factor, and then the other one is the other factor. So how do we find those two things? So the first step is we need to find the factors of 12 and 4. They are what we call the numerical coefficient of x squared, and then the other one is a constant. So basically these are numbers. Factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And of course, we know that the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and then 3. Now, among those factors, we need to find the largest or the greatest common factor, and we're looking at number 4, right? That's the GCF. So 4. All right, let's go to the second step, which is find the factor of the literal coefficients. Now here we only have one variable, which is x squared. So there's no comparison, or meaning there's no need for us to find the factor of the literal coefficients because we only have x squared. So we will move on to the third step, and the third step is we need to find the other factor. So to find the other factor is we need to divide the given polynomial, 12x squared plus 4, by the GCF. That is the procedure on to find the other factor. So this is how we do that. 12x squared over 4, that's divided by 4, and then plus 4 over 4. So 12 divided by 4 equals 3. That's right. That's equal to 3. That is equal to 3. And then 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. So the other factor is 3x squared plus 1, which means that the factors of the given polynomial are 4 times 3x squared plus 1. All right, let me give you another example. Okay, so here we have negative 40x squared minus 16x raised to 3. Remember these two things that we need to find. The first one is the GCF, and the other one is the other factor. And remember this, the 3 steps. The first one is find the GCF of the coefficients, the numerical coefficients. And in this case, we have 40 and 16. And notice that I did not put negative 16 and negative 40. That's okay. It depends on your teacher. Some teachers will tell you you should put negative 40 and negative 16. So the answer can vary depending on the preference of your teacher. All right. So factors of 40, I will list down all of the factors of 40 here. We have 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 10, 20, and 40. Okay, factors of 16, we have 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. And then from the list, we need to find the highest or the greatest common factor. And here, we can clearly see it's number 8. Okay, let's go to the next one, which is finding the literal coefficients, GCF of the literal coefficients. So x squared and x cubed. What is the GCF of the literal coefficients? If we're talking about variables, the literal or the GCF of literal coefficient is always the variable with the least exponent. So here we're talking about x squared. That's the GCF of the literal coefficient. So which means that the GCF is 8x squared. Okay? And then the third step and the final step is to find the other factor. And to do that, we need to divide each term, that's negative 40x squared and negative 16x cubed, by the GCF. So this is how we do that. There you go. Now let me divide the coefficients first, the numerical coefficients. Negative 40 divided by positive 8, that equals negative 5. And we can see that x squared over x squared, they are identical, so we can cross them out. That's just equal to 1. And next is negative 16 over 8. That's negative 2. x cubed over x squared. So in this case, what we usually do is using the loss of exponent, we subtract the exponent in the numerator minus the exponent in the denominator. So 3 minus 1, 3 minus 2 rather, that gives us x raised to 1. So the other factor is negative 5 minus 2x. And therefore, the final answer is 8x squared times negative 5 minus 2x. Some teachers will tell you you need to arrange your answer, so it can be something like this also. Right, like that. Or some teachers will tell you that your GCF should be in negative. So this is another way of answering, or one of the possible answers here is negative 8x squared and then 2x plus 5. So these three that you're seeing right now are the same. Okay, let's go to the third example now. Okay, so here we have x square y cubed plus x raised to 4y, and you can see there's no numerical coefficient here. Well, there is, it's 1. So we don't see that there. We need to find these two things, GCF and the other factor. Excuse me. So let's find the GCF first, step number 1. So 1 and 1. Like what I said, the GCF or the numerical coefficients of the two terms are just 1. So let's move on to step number 2. Find the GCF of the literal coefficient. If you remember what I said earlier, the GCF of the literal coefficients is the variable with the least exponent. So in this case, let's consider the x first. That's x squared. And if we consider the y, that's the y. So meaning the GCF is x squared y. So to find the other factors, we will divide each term by x squared y. X squared divided by x squared is just 1. So let's cross them out. Y raised to 3 over y. That's 3 minus 1, which is y squared. And then x raised to 4 over x squared is 4 minus 2, which is 2. Y over y is equal to 1. So that's the other factor. And the final answer is this one. And you notice I arrange y squared plus x squared, it becomes x squared plus y squared. So I just do that and I arrange the terms alphabetically. All right, let's go to the fourth example now. Okay, so this time we have 3 terms. Remember the steps and remember the things that we need. So what are the things that we need? We need the GCF, that is right, and we need the other factor. So to find the GCF, these are the 3 steps. Or actually, there are 2 steps that we will do here. The first step is find the GCF of the numbers. That's 18, 12, and 15. So when it comes to 18, factors of 18 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And then factors of 15 are 1, 3, 5, and 15. So what is the largest common factor among the 3 numbers? That is correct. It is equal to positive 3. Okay. Now let's find the GCF of the literal coefficient. So that's x squared, x raised to 3, and x raised to 4. And if you remember what I said earlier, the GCF of the literal coefficients is the variable with the least exponent. And here we're talking about x squared. So the GCF is 3x squared. And to find the other factor, we will divide each term by the GCF. Here we go. So let's consider first negative 18 over 3. That's negative 6. Negative 12 over 3. That's negative 4. 15 over 3, that is 5. Now let's consider the literal coefficients. X squared over x squared is 1, so that cancels the 2x squared. x cubed and x squared, that's 3 minus 2, which is 1, so x raised to 1. X raised to 4 over x squared, that's 4 minus 2, which is 2, so x squared. So this is the other factor, negative 6 minus 4x times 5x squared. Just put the GCF and the other factor together, and that will give you the final answer. And again, notice that I arrange negative 6 minus 4x plus 5x into the standard form. That's 5x squared minus 4x minus 6. All right, let's go to the final example. All right, so here we have, I think I can see 3 variables here, and let's see how do we solve this kind of problem. Again, 2 things we need to find, the GCF and the other factor. First step is find the GCF of the numerical coefficients. So 10, 5, and 25. So for 10, we have 1, 2, 5. For 5, we have 1, 5. And for 25, we have 1, 5, and 25. And it's so obvious that the GCF is 5. Now, step number 2, find the GCF of the literal coefficients. Now, to find the GCF of the literal coefficients, because we can see here 3 variables, but if you look at the first term, it has 2 variables. So that makes Z not common among the 3 terms. So we will disregard C as part of the what we call common factor. You can see that all of the 3 terms have x, so let's find that x that has the least exponent, and then we can also see that all 3 terms have y, so we need to find the y that has the least exponent. Okay, so if that's the case, let's consider the x first. So x squared, and then when it comes to y, I can see there are 2 y's here that are y only. So it's just x squared and y, and the 5. So 5x squared y. And again, to find the other factor, we will divide each term by the GCF. Okay? So 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. Negative 25 divided by 5 is negative 5. And notice I consider 25 as negative because that's minus 25. Next, let's consider the x, or the literal coefficients now. X cubed and x squared is x. Y cubed and y is equal to y. X raised to 4 and x squared is x squared. Y over y rather cancels out. Okay, we have z here. X squared cancels out. Y also cancels out. So what we have left is the z squared. So the final answer is, or the other factor rather, is 2x squared plus x squared z minus 5z squared. So our answer is, here you go, 5x squared y times 2xy plus x squared z minus 5z squared. So that's how you factor a polynomial that has a common monomial factor. I hope you learned something from this video, and if you like the video, please do subscribe and like this video. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.